Joining me in studio right now is Kevin Richards with Ventura Web Design. By way of disclosure, by the way, they created my beautiful website, allenstock.com, and of course, he's CEO and owner of Ventura Web Design. Thank you for coming in.
Hey, good morning, Alan. Good to be here, as always.
Great to have you here. So I just want to get right to this. Big story of the week, fortunately or unfortunately, has been this whole thing with Baltimore going on, and the social media has, in its own way, played a part in some of the major events.
Yep, that's true. You know, one thing that did not exist back in 1992 for the LA riots was social media. So Twitter and Facebook and things like that. Fox News, Catherine Herridge had a special report. She talked about this and what she found, along with a data mining firm that refused to share their name. They wanted to remain anonymous. But what they found is that there are 20 to 50 social media accounts in Baltimore that were also tied to a peak period of violence in Ferguson. So what they're finding is that the people who are on Twitter were posting their location as being in Baltimore at the time when all riots were taking place. And what that leads everyone to believe is that there are professional protesters or anarchists in the Freddie Gray violence scenario.
Wow. And are they monitoring this on a regular basis?
Well, the police department is very much monitoring it. And, you know, I think you mentioned earlier, there was a tweet that was sent out that talked about the purge, and you explained that earlier. And, you know, it's very interesting that the same social media accounts were 825 miles apart back in Ferguson as well as in Baltimore. Now, the interesting thing is you can fake where you're at. You can you can tweet and you can say you're in a location and not necessarily be there. But, you know, typically that's not the case. So, you know, it's very interesting. I mean, are people traveling around and being professional protesters, and are they using Twitter to incite these riots? It seems like that is the case.
Yeah, I would bet you dollars of donuts that's exactly what's happening, that there are people out there who are making a living doing this. And it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. All right, let's move on to talk a little bit about Google. You know, they've been requiring their website owners to update their websites, make them more mobile friendly. How is this working out? Most people getting on board on this or what?
Well, they have made it clear that they're going to be favoring websites that are mobile friendly, especially when you're making your search from a mobile device. They want to make sure that the Google users are getting as great of an experience as possible. So you remember we upgraded allenstock.com to be what's called mobile responsive. Mm-hmm. It looks great on any mobile device. And, you know, other website owners are following suit. But what we are seeing is that, you know, if your website is not mobile friendly currently, you are seeing a slight dip in traffic. So what was predicted is actually happening.
So you will not see a dip in traffic, hopefully, if you update it.
No, definitely not. You'll actually see an increase in traffic because now you're one of, you know, the select few that have done what Google's looking for. So the trick in search engine marketing and website marketing, business marketing in general, is to be first to the game. You know, do the new thing first so that you get all that new traffic before all your competitors do. Because once 100 other people, you know, 100 other competitors are doing the same thing you're doing, it's really hard to stand out.
If people have not done it yet, made their website mobile friendly, how do they do it?
Well, the first thing you do is go to Google and you type in mobile friendly test, and then you put in your website address. Google will tell you whether or not it thinks your website is mobile friendly. And then if it is not mobile friendly, it'll start giving you some guidance right there on the screen. It'll ask you, did you build your website or did somebody build it for you? If somebody built it for you, you know, provide them with this link and give them this kind of information so they'll know how to fix it for you. If you built it yourself, how did you do it? Did you use something like WordPress? You know, what tool did you use? And based upon what you tell Google how you built your site, Google will give you some basic guidance on trying to fix it yourself. But definitely building a mobile responsive website is a pretty difficult task.
Big changes going on, big changes. By the way, speaking of big changes, I know Microsoft is coming out with a new web browser. I want to talk about that and talk about Twitter and also about that drone that you pointed out in the air. That was some weird stuff. We'll talk about that and more, which, by the way, I know you can find at my Facebook page. Is that right?
That is right. Facebook.com/AllenStockRadio.
Yeah, wait till you see. That's going to be interesting. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment. 750 at Newstalk 720 KDW. And why are we playing Louie Louie? I'll tell you why. I've got Kevin Richards, Tech News genius with us right now, but the singer to that, the guy's voice you hear is Jack Ely. He died yesterday at 71 in Oregon. And the interesting thing about that is that the song was not written by him, but his garage band, the Kingsmen, recorded it back in about 1962-63. And because the lyrics were slurred a little bit, the FBI opened an investigation to determine if the words were like naughty and bad and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, they determined eventually they couldn't hear anything bad about it. But here's what I found. If you go to my fan page at Facebook, which is Alan Stock Radio, facebook.com/Alan Stock Radio, I actually put it up there so you can see the true lyrics to Louie Louie as you're playing it. So when you click onto it, you'll be able to actually listen to the song and you'll see the lyrics as they're being played. And they're not naughty. Not at all.
It's the power of the internet, Alan.
See, that's the thing. In the internet, you can find that out and do these things in an instant. You can even post them in an instant.
That's right.
Kevin Richards, Ventura Web Design. All right, let's talk a little bit about, first of all, I do want to talk about some of the big changes going on. Microsoft with the new web browser. Again, what's this all about?
Yep, Microsoft is constantly focused on reinventing themselves, and they've got a brand new web browser. They hinted at this earlier this year, and now, previously they'd referred to it as Project Spartan, and now it is called Microsoft Edge. So that's going to be replacing the Internet Explorer browser that has been around for many years and has kind of developed a bad reputation for not being the best browser out there. There's other browsers called Firefox and Chrome and Safari. You know Safari because it's on a Mac. The most popular browser, with techies is definitely Google's Chrome. It's just fast, it's clean.
So Safari.
So Microsoft is trying to catch up. Microsoft is trying to do what they can to stay relevant. So Edge has built-in note-taking capabilities, lets you annotate, draw, and take notes right within the browser. Kind of sticking with their focus over Microsoft on wanting you to write on the screen and utilize touch screens, which is a bit opposite of what Mac is doing. You don't see the touch screens on the MacBook Pros like you do over at Microsoft. Microsoft is saying the Edge browser is going to have blazing fast core technology, which of course is an important thing. Everybody wants their experience to be quick. And of course, they've got a distraction-free reading mode, which is going to get rid of all those pesky ads.
When will they go ahead and launch this?
Well, of course, they're holding that information for in reserve. They'll share that when they're ready. But it's one of those things. They want to start building buzz around their products and roll it out when they feel like they've got it ready. But we're anticipating the tech industry that it's going to be announced sometime in July or August. So it's one of those things. It's you got to pay attention to new technology that's coming out. Microsoft is really trying to do what they can to stay relevant in the face of what Apple's doing.
You got that right, man, because Apple, once you go to Mac, you never go back.
There it is.
All right, real quick, you sent something to me that was interesting. By the way, you've also posted this on my fan page on Facebook as well. If you go to see the Louie Louie and see the true lyrics as you're listening to it and watching that, right under that, you've posted something else about this drone that you sent me to. I watched the whole thing last night. This guy... Well, you tell me about this. Is weird.
Well, first things first. What caught my attention was that in Hawaii, a tourist, or I'm not sure if it was a tourist or a local, but somebody was flying a quadcopter drone around in a national park area, and apparently that's not allowed because he ended up being tased for it.
Tased. Don't tase me, bro.
That's right. So the park ranger apparently walked over. The suspect says that he didn't. The ranger didn't identify himself, and just started yelling at him. So he, of course, ran, and as a result of running, he was tased. But the park ranger's side of the story is, he ordered him to bring down the drone. The person flying the drone did not do so, and there you have it. So be careful when you're out there flying your drones. So getting on to facebook.com/Alan Stock Radio, I went ahead and posted 2 videos of drones that are pretty interesting. The first one is, it's definitely not something that's real right now, and he says that right up front in the video. It's also, what we consider not safe for work because of language, so be careful about that. But when you log in and watch it, it's pretty cool. It shows.
But it looks real, though. I mean, I watched the whole thing. Is this faked or what?
I think that it is faked. I think that there's some, computer generated imaging going on.
Oh, really? Okay. I couldn't catch that.
I think it's all about the weight of that the drone is able to carry, the capacity that the drone has. We're not quite there yet for what that would need to be carrying, but it's pretty cool. It shows potential future military uses for drones. And then the second video is pretty cool as well. It shows a drone flying around at incredibly fast speeds and doing some pretty interesting maneuvers. So
is that faked also, or what?
I make the argument that it looks a little bit faked, but I've got dear friends who insist that it is absolutely true, and that's where technology is today.
The military application of drones, as displayed here, even though you're saying it's faked, it really does display what they'll be able to do with these things, and the need of men and women in the field will be almost secondary to having these, billions of dollars put out to lots of these things. And eventually, that's how future wars are going to be fought.
Absolutely. And it's been in games for a long time now, and you've been able to see the use of drones and how it might be utilized. When you're fighting a war and you don't want to go around a corner because there's a sniper around that corner waiting for you, send a drone up in the air and have some video, know exactly where he's at. And then in the future, instead of just sending that drone to tell you where the guy is at, go ahead and send the drone to go ahead and take care of him. Why risk our men and women when you've got technology that can do it for you?
I hear that one loud and clear. So check them out, all three of those videos. And you can also watch Louie Louie and get the original lyrics as they're being played. Let's talk about Apple and the iWatch. I know the iWatch is out, and a lot of people are getting it. I think it's very expensive. And I know that there's been a glitch with the iWatch that they had not anticipated. I saw it last night on the tube, and I thought, wow, this is interesting. They are saying because it was, I guess, tested with people who do not have tattoos, that if you put it on and you have a wrist tattoo, because it's a wristwatch, you have a wrist tattoo and you have either black or red ink, that there'll be glitches in it. And they have not, at this point, fixed it yet. And the question that came up, well, what about skin color? And skin color has nothing to do with it because it goes right through skin, but it does not go through the ink itself, especially if it's dark ink.
Yeah, that's interesting. The ink has some type of issue. It's affecting the watch's ability to read your heart rate, I believe is what they said.
Right.
Was the problem. So that's interesting technology. But I think what's more interesting about the Apple Watch is their innovations as it relates to Siri. As you know, Siri is their virtual assistant that you speak to, and it does things. Currently, Siri is all right. Maybe it could be better, but with the watch, Siri is pretty much the only way to get it to really do anything. So Siri has to be improved for the watch to make sense. So it's going to be interesting to watch what Apple does there.
So Siri, you cannot access Siri if you have a watch through the regular.
No. What I'm saying is for you to control the watch and to really do things, because the watch doesn't have a keyboard. So if you want to send a text message, you've got to do it through Siri. So Siri's got to improve. Siri's got to get better. A lot of times when you're using Siri right now, it hears you incorrectly, or it is busy and unavailable. Basically, it just comes back with something that was not what you intended. Maybe most of your sentence is right, but one word is wrong, and it messes up the meaning of the sentence.
Like spell check.
It's a little bit worse than spell check. With spell check, the same kind of concept where you're typing something out and it assumes you're putting in a different word than what you are actually meaning to put in. So yeah, that's similar. But the other thing we want to talk about is iOS 8 adoption rates are up. I know you love to update your products, so they've got I believe it's like 80% of people are using the most recent version of iOS 8. So again, that's the power of Apple and Mac. They've got their people using the latest stuff.
I'll probably have to check it out and go do that. I'm telling you, once you do it and everything's fine, you don't find glitches. Kevin Richards, Ventura Web Design. You want to find out more about Ventura Web Design or contact Kevin Richards, go to alanstock.com. On the right-hand side of the page, you'll see the Ventura Web Design logo. Click onto that, and you'll be in touch with Ventura Web Design and Kevin Richards. Thank you for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We will do it again next week. It's always great having you in here. It's always great having you in here. It's always great.